are live.
You know, I used to be able to hear the intro. I can't hear the intro now.
Yeah, we're working out the kinks.
I know.
Working out the kinks.
I know. It's getting weird.
It's a kinky company.
It's
huh?
a kinky company. Let me hype you before you
Hey.
talk. You're not supposed to talk yet.
Quiet.
It's quiet on the set. So, special thanks to K-Var. I want to thank everyone at K-var.com, especially the team in here, Q, Melody, everybody. I'm slightly concussed, but we're going to roll with it. And we're going to see how it goes. Might get a lot of good stuff. I want to thank our guest, but before I get into it, she's pretty badass. I was checking her stuff out today. There's so much out there that people kind of don't understand about this business, and there's so much hustle behind the scenes. It's nice to have someone in that has their hand in the marketing side and is in another country, which is pretty crazy. So we're going to get into all of that. We're going to get into everything, but we have the lovely, so we're going to go by both names. She goes by Brass Loving Brunette, if I got that right, on IG, but Charlotte.
Sharla. It's a little different.
Sharla.
Yes.
Ex-Metal Targets.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. No, it's a pleasure to have you. I'm super excited. And you know, when I kind of started digging around in your profile and looking, it was so cool that you were from Canada. So I think, you know, everybody kind of wants to know, as we always do, how did you get here? And literally, how did you get to this point where you're running around on ranges, shooting targets, and working in the gun business?
That tends to surprise most people because
Well, go ahead.
the biggest assumption is that Canadians don't shoot, that guns are completely illegal, and
Well, it's not Australia.
No, it's not Australia, but even growing up, like, what a lot of people don't know is I'm a brand new shooter. And the very, very first time I ever shot a gun was only in 2013. A friend of mine is an ex-cop, and it was always tradition. We go, a little ski-doing, barbecue. And one day he looks at me, he's like, hey, want to shoot some guns? And I'm like, why the fuck would anybody do that?
So
That was my attitude.
So you start shooting.
Yeah, fell in love with it, and it just kind of went from there. I thought, oh, let's start an Instagram, something new. Woo, it's fun. And like, really, I had that kind of a loose attitude about it. Started meeting other people through the Instagram. Obviously, you're like, can relate to that. Like, it leads you to people, and somehow you gain a relationship there, and everything just kept building.
It's crazy. And then Ex-Metal Targets. How does that happen?
Actually, my boss found my Instagram, and I was invited to SHOT Show for the first time. I was actually, Scott Lambin found me first, and he was like, hey, girl, can you write? Like, he literally approached me that direct. And he's like, I want a Canadian perspective. Nobody understands that. Write me something about that. So I wrote for the Brass Tacks, and I wrote 2 articles for them, and they invited me
Charlotte
to join
talking
them.
to the mic, my dear.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Keep going. Brass tacks.
Yeah, so the Brass Tacks invited me to write for them. I wrote 2 articles, and as a thank you, they invited me to SHOT Show, and that's where I met people like Tracy, who invited me down today and introduced me to you today, and
That's awesome.
it just keeps expanding, and my boss found it that way.
You know, what I love about that, and yeah, talk like deep into the mic, like make it
Yes.
intimate.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to move around. It moves. So what I love about that is you are painfully honest, and I love people who come in and do that. And you say, "Look, I just got started." You really aren't new, but I just got started into shooting, and I love it. And that's what it's all about. And that's what I have sometimes the hardest time explaining to people is not everybody is special ninja forces, and not everybody is a door gunner on a spaceship.
Yes.
So I try to explain that to folks that this business is about the everyday person, and that's ultimately who we're trying to appeal to. And sometimes that gets lost in translation because everyone gets so obsessed in this business with who's the most badass and who has the biggest what and who's
There's
not
some ego.
who's not a bunny and who is and all that crap. And it's all crap. It's exactly what it is. But I mean, how do you feel about that, being a new shooter coming into it and starting to learn the industry? It's just you see these people and they're like, oh, well, you got to be special ninja forces to work in the gun business. Well, no, you don't. The majority of it isn't that. And that's what I try to explain to people.
Actually, that's what one of my articles that I wrote was about. Be honest about your level. I don't try to act like an expert, but I can direct you to people who are, and even they don't declare themselves one. Then you got the people who are like adamant, yeah, you got to do it this way. And let's just enjoy wherever we're at in our moment. And this community either really, really allows it, and you have some personalities that ruin it, but don't let them actually take over that.
Yeah,
the majority are.
No, I was going to say I've compared a lot of the majority of the community to like high school. It gets very high school very quick.
It can.
It can. But no, it's great that you're painfully honest about it. You seem to love the business. What has been kind of the biggest difference you've found between Canada and the United States with some of the gun laws and some of the stuff that you guys do up there?
We have to go through licensing, and I think there's similarities in what we're fighting, especially when it comes to politics in regards to that, the manipulation of the idea of firearms. And we all know they flat out lie. So me understanding firearms opened my eyes to politics and dishonesty and such. And it's really difficult to fight that now because in Canada, the perception is, oh, we don't do guns. Everybody's naive unless you're part of the community.
Right.
Oh, they try to associate me with a criminal. And I'm like, that's so insulting. And so now, because of the Instagram and some of the popularity I've gained, I feel a responsibility to prove that, yeah, I've earned this.
Right. Now, do you feel, now you guys don't have the Second Amendment.
We don't.
You don't. What do you have? Talk to me like I'm,
This is a difficult one to cross because I'm not supposed to have ideas. And
No, have ideas.
But I really do believe in the Second Amendment. I didn't understand it for a very long time, and I decided I'm going to take another look at what the USA and the Second Amendment means, and I got a little godsmacked by it. Because it's not about self-defense. It's not about shoot your guns in the air and have a good time. It's really a preservation of your community and your identity as Americans, as citizens, and don't let anybody who's supposed to be in the top in that White House take you over.
Right.
And that is a scary perception. And here, if I want to discuss it in Canada, the majority of people are like, oh, no, that never happens. Oh, no, this is... I'm like, no, I'm going to be realistic. You have an ego that doesn't belong saying they're going to rule your country, and you give them too much power and you don't have a way to gain it back, you're in trouble. But I'm very few Canadians have
Charlotte,
that
now
perception.
do you guys have to register your weapons as well in addition to licensing?
That's
or?
the other thing that's different. We have both a restricted and non-restricted licensing. If it's non-restricted, the fact that I'm licensed, I can go and I can purchase. A restricted gun, we have to register. And I have my opinions about that as well. If I've already proved and I'm vetted and I have my licensing, what business is it of yours what I own?
Huh.
And that's another taboo topic as a Canadian. But more of us and people like me are talking about it because we think it's a discussion worth having.
And you don't have do you have a lobbying body like the NRA?
We have a few that work really, really hard. There's one in particular, the CCFR, that I think is the most involved, and I'm really, really proud of the efforts that, they literally, I watch them. They're hustling. They're at every single rally making our voices heard, and we're fighting hard right now.
That's the CCFR.
Yeah.
I have to look into this.
Yeah, Rog, Alicia, and Tracy are basically the leads in front of there, and I'm very proud of the efforts that they're making.
That's very cool. I see, Q. I didn't know anything about Canadian gun laws. I don't know if you did.
I don't know a damn
Yeah.
thing, so this is very interesting.
Super.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have guns now? So okay, let me back up. The closest I've lived to Canada, when I lived in Montana, I was very close, and when I lived in New Hampshire, I was probably 100 miles from Canada. I've been there. I've never thought to say, gee, let me go visit a gun store. What's a gun store there like? Like, can I walk in and could somebody, if I was a Canadian citizen, you have to get all the licenses and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Then you walk in. Do you go home with the gun that day?
If it's a non-restricted, you can. If it's a restricted thing like a handgun, you might be waiting.
Give me an
What's
example.
non-restricted?
Yeah.
Non-restricted, again, this is where the government comes in and tries to put their little stipulations in. Some of it's utterly ridiculous. That one just looks scary, and we know she just picked up a 22. It's like a mosquito bite, for crying out loud. But it has that look, so it'll go on the restricted. Oh, it's an AR, it's a weapon of mass destruction, blah, blah, blah. And that is where they categorize it, and they make you wait for it.
Wow, that's crazy.
But
Just the look
like a
sometimes.
hunting rifle, something simple. Hey, I'm a deer hunter. I prove my hunting license. I prove my actual gun license. Yeah, if they have it in stock, go home.
It's crazy.
Very, very
It's
crazy.
different. There's certain aspects now that I'm trying to understand, and I have more American friends. I have my own ideas of where a common ground, in my mind, would work. I don't think there should be, in my head, zero restrictions, because there are certain people who are not stable. That this is something that you have to handle responsibly.
I think the mental health piece goes without saying. I think everybody's on board with that, even in the United States.
Yes.
There's a lot of people with a lot of great ideas, and I've gone on record and said many times it's a mental health issue. by and large. Q, I don't know if you went live to get some questions coming in, but double check. But the mental health piece, because I know this flares everybody up. It's got to be addressed, whether it's Canada or the United States. But as far as getting to a point where the regulatory bodies aren't so, intrusive is probably the best way for me to put it.
I would agree.
Is going to be an ongoing struggle that will continue to happen, whether it's in the United States or in Canada. And it's a conversation that has to be had at not just this level, but at a national level and with the governing bodies. I think the NRA here in the United States has made a drastic mistake by focusing on fear as opposed to doing what it was meant to do, which is not only educate the consumers, but also educate those in government and sit down. I don't see one person in the NRA go out of their way to take time to educate some of the lawmakers that are passing these laws and that are making these laws. And that's where we have problems in this country. And that's where there tends to be some issues in this country. So, I would love to see that obviously happen more. And I'm sure that's something that you want to see in Canada, because the people who make these laws, they make them and they have no, like, you look at California, it's insane what they do. Like, we're going to remove this button from an AR, we're going to remove that button. And all people do is make technological advances that change the gun so that it can function, so it just doesn't make any sense. 1 minute a brace is this, 1 minute a brace is that. It's all insane. So until they get to a point where people are ready to have open and honest dialogue, and not only that, half the Democrats own guns to begin with, or they're protected by people that own guns, which is even funny.
It's about education. You and I are definitely in agreement there. If somebody's going to regulate something that I now have more expertise in, how are you going to make an educated decision? How are you really going to make it about public safety? And really, the things that I do see have nothing to do with public safety. They declare it is, but it doesn't do anything about that. Now,
I know in, what was it, Australia, they did like a giant seizure of firearms at one point, because we had a woman in here from Australia who kind of educated us on some of that stuff, and they pretty much can't have, like, it's like hunting only pretty much. Has there been any type of like major, like we had, shootings, we have what they call like school shootings, mass shootings, those types of things. Has there one thing you can point to that's caused some of the triggers, I guess, in the gun community?
Well, we've had some mass shootings. There was a really horrible school shooting many years ago, but we just had one recently, and there was an 18-year-old and a much younger little girl in Greektown in downtown Toronto. But again, knowing what I know, and because I've gained some experience in education, the things that they're telling us about the shooter, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That obviously wasn't a legal gun. It wasn't legally purchased. And I really dislike that they use something that is so tragic and they manipulate it. I'm sorry, show some honor and grace to the lives lost. But when it comes to the actual mechanics of the guns or the positioning of shooters, you don't recognize that as a general citizen unless you do what I do and decide to. I'm going to learn a little more.
Interesting.
So everything is for political manipulation, and it's very sad that they use these tragedies for that. So we're in the middle of something right now with this particular government that's in power. They've submitted something called Bill C-71. They're trying to take our ARs. They want to restrict our handguns. They want central storage. I'm like, hey, just make it a one-stop shop for all the criminals that want to take it. But they're not addressing crime at all. And they introduced another bill that is actually making certain punishments for criminals more lax. I'm like, whose side are you on?
It's interesting, Q. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Extremely. Nothing will really happen unless it happens to, I guess, the politicians. Then you'll see them kind of jump to your side,
It's super interesting. It's you guys deal with a lot of the same problems, and you don't have the Second Amendment to lean on, which makes it, I would think, a little bit tougher.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And I never bothered to think about it until I got involved in this.
Interesting. Have you thought about starting like your own coalition, or do you have you already?
Well, the coalition, like I said, I mentioned the CCFR. I support them wholeheartedly. I love their efforts. I add voice to what they do.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And I use my public platform to also encourage more of this.
Crazy.
And my best friend is the Canadian gun vault. He's the gentleman that took me out for the first time. So we have these people who are getting a little bit louder about having this in Canada, because we were really, we don't talk about that.
Right. Yeah. Developing a voice is developing a voice and a platform are two different things. And developing a strong voice with points and being able to articulate that at the highest levels is really the most important thing, especially in a conversation like this. And I've said it many times. I've volunteered myself, and I have a lot of political friends. I've said, look, you guys, it's an education thing. You have to get to the table with these people and educate them on what it is you're trying to accomplish. And we'll help you. I mean, within reason. If you're trying to stop mass shootings, well, we can look at this, this, and this. And if you're trying to stop X, Y, and Z, maybe we have to look at this and that. Just saying we're going to ban the gun and we're going to hope we'll get a rollback on the Second Amendment isn't always plausible, especially in this country, because you'll see people go bananas. But yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about all this stuff.
And you always say the key word, education. I always offer to people, hey, if you don't understand the mechanics and you're fearful of it, come up with me. Learn something. You don't have to make this part of your life, but you know what? If you want to know more and you have questions, let me help you answer those.
Yeah, and I think especially in the United States, when you start to really peel back the statistics of mass shootings and violent crimes with firearms is actually very small compared to other deaths. When you start comparing it to what the CDC publicizes as causes for death, and a majority of those end up being murder-suicides. When you really start to look at it and peel back the layers, it's a very, very low number. I don't know, Q, if you could pull up the CDC numbers on causes of death, but firearms I don't even think is in the top. It's not even in the top 50. I don't believe. It's way down there. So
Let me check into that.
Yeah, when you always look into it. I'm sure at some point Q will pull it up, but in our country we have these published reports, and what we tend to do is we say, look, when you really look at it and you roll out murder-suicides, this is a relatively small number because the majority of your gun crimes tend to be people who engage in what's called murder-suicide, where it's something where they choose to take their own life or take the life of a loved one. It becomes a crime of passion, and people think, well, I'll just ban the gun and that'll stop that. Well, I mean, has anyone heard of O.J. Simpson? I mean, he didn't use a gun. So, it's one of those things.
So I got up the top causes of death. Gun violence is not even in the top 15. Suicide is number 10
Oh, that's so
for
sad.
causes of death.
What's like 14 and 15, if you have it?
Yeah, hold on a second here.
I'm just curious because I know like vitamin C's in there.
Yeah.
Like there's some.
Is it really?
Yeah, and it's ahead of gun crimes. Like
got
I will never be healthy again.
poison,
liver disease and cirrhosis. So you got the
Oh my
drinkers,
goodness.
you
the
got
booze,
the alcohol,
booze.
septicemia.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a bacterial infection.
Let's learn something here.
Yeah.
I think poison is higher.
Yeah, kidney disease.
It's like the medieval times.
Influenza.
Crying out loud.
The flu, the fucking flu. Are you shitting me?
The fucking flu.
What else you got? You got anything else good there?
Yeah, yeah, stroke. all the regulars. All the
What
good
kind of
stuff.
stroke? I'm just teasing.
No.
Oh man.
See, I told
I
you,
think
I'm inappropriate.
I think vitamin C is higher. I believe. I'm not 100.
Vitamin C.
Let me continue my crack research.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
some more genuine. But it's kind of crazy when you really look at it. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, are all those killings? And I don't want to get off on this topic, but are they senseless? Yes. Should they be condemned by any government? Absolutely. Do they involve most of the time people that suffer from some very serious mental issues? Yes. More often than not, those people get access to the firearms via poor storage habits or access through a third party. And that's something that, whether it's a knife, I mean, what's next? I mean, you ban straws in California. Do you ban knives?
Oh my god, how fucking ridiculous is that, man? I went to get something.
You want to
eat.
hear ridiculous? I've got one.
The guy was like, "Oh, I can't give you a straw if you don't ask for it. I'll get fined and I could lose my license to serve." I'm like, "Are you fucking
Over a
kidding me?
straw.
A straw?"
Oh my.
This is the most ridiculous thing that I just recently heard. We have a political MP who admitted we cannot keep up with the flow of illegal guns coming in across our borders from the USA. So instead of focusing on that, we're focusing on you legal owners because we know who you are. That is an
Wow.
actual thing she said. I'm like, do you not
Wow.
realize how ridiculous that is? That makes no sense. We're going to ignore the criminals and look at you, who have proven over and over are the most vetted people in our country.
That's crazy.
That's
Well,
not logical.
it's not. Well, I guess to everybody in the United States, if you think you got it bad, move to Canada. I guess it's worse. Australia has been one of the worst we've had in.
Okay, guys, hold on.
What do you got?
Hold on.
You got something good?
I'm about to blow your mind.
Drop knowledge.
This comes before guns, right? Diarrhea.
You're kidding me. Because I thought I was going to die last week when I had it.
Diarrhea is more cause of death worldwide.
Q, we almost lost a few people in the bathroom here. This is true.
I'm trying to breathe.
This is true. Take a minute, compose yourself. But we've lost a lot of good men in that bathroom.
There you go.
They just flush their life away.
They just flush it away.
Okay, see, she's going down the wrong path.
Okay,
So-
well, let's get back on this.
Yeah, let's get back on this. So, you know, here in the United States, it's interesting, but we have these published reports. I'm not sure if you have them, but they're great
We do.
talking points. And you should definitely take a look into them because you can find some interesting talking points like these. This does not in any way condone or make fun of or make light of any of the firearms deaths, but it puts it into perspective. And that's what I try to do with people is put perspective around it. By and large, the majority of your deaths or mass shooting deaths that occur with firearms are very few and far between. They should be condemned. They're horrible. They're acts of absolute pure violence, and the people should be prosecuted to the fullest extent. But at the same time, they're few and far between. They're not large. We're losing more people to diarrhea. Literally. So
Yeah, exactly. And really, it's about a fun range day. Let's have a good time. And that's what the Canadians do. It's all a legal range. We enjoy ourselves.
And I think sometimes instructors and ranges don't help themselves. I think a lot of times we are our own worst enemy at times. And like we were talking earlier, the industry can be at times very juvenile, and you know, and that's something we just have to improve at. You know, I think for the most part, we're doing a good job bringing awareness to the mental health thing, but we haven't really found the solutions, and that's part of the struggle.
And you're right. In the business, now that I'm in the industry, I notice the ego.
It's huge.
Let go of the ego. Let's go back to the community and let's have a good time. And that's also why I picked the job that I have. It's about bringing people together, really enjoying what we produce and having a good time.
And I've always been a huge advocate of that. When I first got into this business, I pulled obviously a lot of fitness people and a lot of folks that I thought would enjoy the sport of shooting and would enjoy. And I legitimately had people fight with me. They were like, oh, you know, you don't have to lift weights to shoot. I was like, nobody said that. I'm like, we're talking about bringing communities together, and we're talking about selling more targets. We're talking about selling more firearms to good owners. We're talking about bringing more people into the sport and bringing more awareness to the sport. But people, I think by and large, one of the downsides of social media is people, for the most part, just love to have something to say. Oh, your finger wasn't on the trigger the right way, or you looked at it funny, or, you know, and there's a lot of armchair quarterbacking.
I get coached on a daily.
So it's one of those things. It's good and bad. There's a lot of good and bad that comes with that.
Yeah, you know what? The other thing is your own personal attitude about it. How do you receive it? Do you let it ruin your day, or you say thank you?
I appreciate it, you know, and that's all you can do. You have to kind of take the rock approach. It's all love, and just kind of be like, dude, you know, like I have no desire to go out there and be instructor to the stars. I have no desire to go out there and try to portray myself as something more than what I am. I enjoy the sport of shooting. I enjoy the lifestyle, and I enjoy the folks that participate in the journey to make this not just the greatest country in the world to own and possess a firearm, but also one of the greatest experiences. And that's what's important to me is to have people that can take self-defense seriously. But like I said, I think the last 5 or 6 years, I think the NRA has made a huge mistake, a glaring mistake of making it about fear. And I don't think it should be about fear. I think it should be about responsibility. And I think it should be about ownership. And I think it should be about respecting the right, really. I think the fear...
I fully agree.
The fear tactic is bullshit. So you had a chance to come down here and hang out.
Yes.
And you've been running around hanging out with the ladies a little bit and getting to see how things go here. Is it your first time in the United States for a vacation, not for shot or anything?
No, it's not my first time as a vacation, but this is the first time I decided to take a vacation that's not like a typical tourist.
Right.
And it's so different when you, especially here in Vegas, with somebody who's local. It's a completely different flavor.
Oh, sure.
And especially the person, Tracy Guns. Let's knock it up a few notches.
Yeah,
you know how that is.
Yeah, Tracy's great. So you get to hang out a little bit and kind of see Vegas in a different light. Not SHOT Show's too crazy. Like I tell my friends, Q and I were talking about this. Like people come to Vegas and they think like, all we do in Vegas is we're running around butt naked. But it's naked. I'm telling you. And we were talking about this, but like Vegas, when you come and you visit friends that live here, you don't necessarily do a ton of things on the Strip. You have some fun. You get off the Strip, and there's really a lot of cool things to see. Red Rock and different areas,
Yes.
and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And everybody's really cool, and I look at it as like almost like a transient state where you have so many cool personalities coming together, and you'll meet a lot of fun people, and hopefully be back. I've loved it here, and when I was building out this podcast, I was thinking, Vegas would be an ideal spot, LA, Miami.
Yes.
Those are all areas that I love, even though I'm a New Englander through and through.
Oh, I
love
see.
it. So where does it go from here for you?
In what sense are you asking?
So you got the Target thing. You're going to SHOT Show. You're kind of knee deep in the business. Do you see yourself taking more of a corporate step? Do you want to come deeper into the business? Do you want to move to the United States eventually?
You know what? I don't really overplan everything. I think that the universe basically brings you what is meant to come across your path. I wanted to be a part of the industry, and the fact that my boss introduced himself was just perfect timing. Exploring this Target thing, the business with X Metal Targets, I've learned even more about my own shooting skills based on the design of the items that he's come up with. Things I never in a million years would have thought about. If I can talk about that a little bit, I would like to just specify just a little bit of his design. Again, it's all about education. I thought, let's just throw some steel, hear it ring. But my boss's designs are so brilliant. It's all about safety. It's about durability, but mainly safety. Every time he noticed something that didn't work, he changed it and he tweaked it. Military and police love ours. Like they collapse, they set up, it's AR from top to bottom. The pin that holds the plate in is even designed properly. That's a picture of our little rimfire one.
That's a little example I found, yeah.
Yeah, that's just one of our little tiny little rimfire ones. It's awesome for training the children with some reactive paddles. But the real heavy duty ones, what he thought of to make sure everything's safe, nothing comes forward at the shooter. He designed every little piece of metal and part.
Deflection.
For deflection down into the dirt. Nothing's coming forward. There's no bolts. There's no welding points anywhere on impact zones. There's nothing that can break. So you have longevity of your product, and again, collapsibility, setup. Police don't like to waste time. Military doesn't like to waste time.
As I've gotten older, I don't like the silhouettes as much. I'm starting to like the little frogs and the little animals.
Yeah, we have little animal ones too, but we're really well known for those big FTS
the
ones.
rhinos.
I'm worried about you, man.
I actually had a buddy who made a Harambe target. That was pretty ridiculous.
I got
which?
you, Harambe.
Oh, for crying out loud.
That was ridiculous. A gorilla one. But yeah, the couple of target companies I've dealt with in the past have thought it would be funny to make some custom ones. So yeah, they seem to think they're hilarious, and I told them they can make a custom target of me where I'm like the perp, and they can shoot me on paper.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay, when that one comes out, I would like to know.
Yeah, that would be pretty badass. So that's awesome. I mean, it's cool to work for a company you're passionate about, but would you ever have any designs to come to the United States and set up shop here?
If life brings me here, then yeah. I'm always open-minded to that kind of possibility.
A gypsy, huh?
Well, a gypsy with a little limitations. I still have kids, so I got to be reasonable.
Well, yeah. I mean, like you said, you never know which way.
And that's the other thing I think that caught people's attention with my Instagram. I'm not your typical person. I'm still a mommy of two. I'm 45. I'm late in the game, getting started on most people's spectrum, and it's a different demographic that I represent.
But it's a business, like we talked about earlier. People don't realize that it's a business. It's a
really
lifestyle, but it's also a business.
Oh, it really is. But I think that's where it got the attention in Canada.
Yeah.
Why would you do it now? I'm like, why not?
Why
it's
not?
fun.
Yeah.
It's a great time. Oh, look at there I am.
There's some stuff.
And it's fun to be a little cheeky. I'm having a good time with this page.
And you keep your IG private. That was one thing.
I opened it up for this weekend because there's people that I wanted to promote, like when we did the car racing today, some of the restaurants that I'm exploring. So I opened it up. But yeah, I put it private for a little while. I was getting death threats, and I wanted to put an end to that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was getting some really dark messages, and
wow.
Talk about that.
It was easier to filter people out this way, especially when people know I'm a mommy, and they would really try to hit a nerve by threatening my children, even though they don't know who they are.
And what was the basis?
Yeah.
What's the threat? Like,
you know what?
Because you
No,
are
and
a
this is going to really sound awful. A lot of them came from a particular race. there was messages, your husband should beat you more. You're the type of woman that deserves to be chained up. You know what? By now, I would have slit your throat. Things like that. And
That's just
and then
nuts.
I even got Canadian are known to be a very kind people, but yes, we have evil in Canada as well. And a lot of the Canadians didn't like that you're making us look like we're the U.S. And unfortunately, there are some people who don't like patriotism. They think you're egotistical. And that's a different conversation. If you actually go down and talk to people, you might be a little impressed and realize you need a little more patriotism in Canada too. Come on, have some respect for yourselves.
If Canada doesn't want you, we'll take you. So come on down.
You know what?
Damn right.
You know what? And I think that's why I'm comfortable coming here. I'm comfortable in America. I'm comfortable in Canada. People are like, oh, you don't have 2A. Some people are like, oh, I feel bad for you. You have gun restrictions. Move to USA. I'm like, listen, I love my country. If I leave, who's going to stand up for what I know could be better?
A true patriot.
I am for Canada.
So,
but I love you guys so much.
So you've had a chance to come to SHOT, and I noticed like you've met a ton of people. We were talking about this a little earlier.
Yeah.
Who's some of the most exciting people you've met in your journey so far?
You know what? They're going to be embarrassed, but I love Sean Yulty. He works with Scott Lamon and the Brass Tacks, but his photography, he did photography for CZ magazine, and I think it's just because I've gotten to know him as a human being. He's not just some celebrity that walks by. I love Sean. Again, there's the fun ones that work for Black Rifle Coffee, and you get, woo, I got to meet Crispy for a few minutes, but again, I don't really know him, but it was really nice to be in his presence. He exudes a spirit that's really inspiring.
Omar's got a great story, and he's a hot shit. He has a way of, literally, he has a way of just, like Q said, always cheerful, always happy.
One wick.
I've gotten fairly close with Omar through the last year and a half, and it's a lot of fun.
I think we could all learn to have a better attitude with his example.
Mm-hmm.
Hi,
Absolutely,
your shit's not that bad.
Yeah, he just has that whole things aren't too bad. Who else? Anybody at the shows that you're kind of like, geez, I really want to meet that person, and then they turn out to be like, you're like, oh fuck, they suck.
No, actually, nobody struck me that way. You know who was a real surprise I thought would have an ego was Alexandra and Eli, and they're like the funnest people I've ever met. And she actually chats with me every now and then. I'm like, oh my God, me?
There's a lot of good folks in the firearms business, and there's a lot of good people, and it's interesting how in this country they've created a lot of pseudo-celebrity out of it. They've made some people kind of pseudo-celebrities, and it's nice to see it evolve. A lot of people started out shooting and doing mag dumps and everything, and it's really fun to see the evolution of people's marketing. It's something Q and I talk about a lot, something we've talked about at length. People have evolved in how they approach things. Like, I knew I wasn't going to run around on ranges and do that type of stuff forever, and I wanted to continue to evolve and do things differently. And I think that's important. That's a part of life, and it's nice to see folks like Black Rifle come onto the scene, and they do a lot of fun spoofy stuff, and then just seeing some of the other brands and how they approach it and where it goes from here. And I think as we get more and more into other mediums, I think it's going to be exciting to watch how people evolve, because Q and I says Instagram's not going to be around forever.
No, but there's going to be something that'll replace it. But it's fascinating that we can actually learn a thing or two about each other.
Yeah,
in this,
they're having a super hard time figuring out how to monetize it, and I've had a lot of people in here that just believe YouTube and different platforms are becoming more and more the way to go, just because of some of the failures or limitations that Instagram presents. So I've been an advocate of going in as many directions as you can and kind of fanning it out as a company, and I think that that's becoming more and more necessary, because one of the flaws of Instagram as a platform is you're betting on how much someone's willing to swipe down.
That's true,
and that's the gamble. So if you have, I had Jay Cutler in here. He has 3 million followers.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, 30,000 people see my stuff, and that's not a good medium. If you send an email out to 3 million people, it goes in 3 million inboxes. And if you have 3 million subscribers on YouTube, you reach more people. And I had this conversation with John Lovell at Warrior Poet Society, and he said the same thing. It's not as conducive as of a platform. And I think what we've seen the last year and going into the next couple in the firearms business is a lot of people come up and they look for sponsorship, and I'm sure you deal with this, and they're looking for free stuff, and they're like, well, I have Instagram and I have 50,000 followers, and you're like, okay, what else you got?
Yeah, and thank you for the t-shirt. I have enough t-shirts.
Yeah.
But you know what, realistically, I didn't expect to even have an Instagram that took took off. Facebook shut down my brass page, and I haven't even bothered trying to regain that. I was like, oh, I'm just frustrated. But again, I didn't think that I would be even doing this in here. Now I'm on your show.
Yeah, and you
Wow.
know, and you know, I started this. This is my third podcast, so I've had a couple before with different companies, different incarnations. This is one I started for me and to bring into brands and to show them, you know, a content creation strategy and to show them that you can put content out there that people want to hear. They want to humanize the experience. A lot of people through Instagram don't hear your story and they don't understand that there is a heartbeat and a mind and a soul behind this, and you have a story and it should be told. And I think that's one of the things holding the gun industry back. We don't humanize the person holding the gun enough.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to come here and actually share a little about myself.
Of course.
People make assumptions
Of
based on
course.
pictures.
So you go through this tremendous journey, and you've been kind of knee deep in it for 5 years. You're having a lot of fun, meeting all kinds of people. I think that's, you know, so commendable for you to come in here and kind of not in a come in and say I'm this and I'm that. You came right out and you said, hey, I'm kind of new to this. I'm shooting. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. I'm traveling. I'm learning. I'm getting into the facilities. And I think that's what it's all about. And that's why I'm a huge advocate of that. And it's exciting to kind of see the excitement in your approach to it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
think
excited to push my limits a little more.
yeah, and I think, you know, the sky definitely is the limit, and I think you could do tremendous things not only in Canada, but if Canada doesn't want you, we'll take you. Like
You
I
know,
said,
USA has always made me feel welcome.
we are recruiting right now for an Area 51 raid, and I have
Oh,
to
God,
ask.
don't get 'em started.
I'm gonna get her going. So I have
thing
to
is so
know:
absurd.
Oh, God.
did you come into town for the raid, or are you scouting out Area 51?
No, actually, I'm going to watch from the outskirts and watch people make asses of themselves because that's just fun for me.
Do you believe in aliens?
I believe in spirit, not aliens.
Do you believe aliens crash landed in Roswell?
I have no idea. And to be honest, I kind of don't care. I maybe should, but I don't care.
The nerve.
I'm
No, no, no,
sorry.
no, no, no. Q, leave her alone. Let her alone. Do you believe in alien technology?
Huh. You're really putting me on this
Like,
line. Is she a Trekkie?
Is there something at Area 51, and do we have access to alien technology?
You know what? I don't know, but they're obviously hiding something.
What do you-
And it's powerful, whether it's made by us
Are
or somebody else.
are Canadians obsessed with conspiracy the way that people in the United States are?
God, yeah.
Yeah? Like, what's a good Canadian conspiracy?
Yours, anything up here. We get more U.S. news than Canadian news. Everybody thinks they're an expert on you guys. Oh, we have our opinion. We know exactly what you guys are all about. No. It's ridiculous, but it's fun. It's fun.
So you don't think there's little green men?
I never said that. Some people are so ugly they might as well be green.
Oh,
Now that's a good
answer. She gave a good answer.
So mean.
That
Hey,
is
Sharla,
mean.
I got to ask the proverbial.
please.
Is there anything different down here that you can get to eat that you can't get at home? Any kind of
Oh my God,
weird-
I just had an argument about bacon. They think that we don't know what bacon is. We eat on a daily basis, and I literally can eat an entire tray of it. The exact same kind of bacon you guys.
I
The
think
whole
that's that whole
Canadian,
Canadian
bacon,
bacon. Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I don't
What
even
is
know why
that?
it got named that.
What the hell is that?
We never didn't create it. So I don't know. Somebody labeled it. It's like a slice of ham.
Right, right.
I'm like, no, if I want ham, I'll eat ham.
It's
When I
like-
want bacon, I'm eating bacon.
It's like a hamburger, right?
Hamburger.
No, it's a slice of bacon. It's just a
No,
thick
but like a
cut.
hamburger is not from Hamburg, Germany. Like I think
Okay.
people say that. So wait, debunk the Canadian
French
bacon
fries.
thing for me.
Well, it exists, but it's actually not my favorite. But when it comes to just bacon, when you say bacon as a Canadian, we mean the same thing you guys mean.
Is Canadian bacon Canadian?
No, I just actually, you know what's funny? Because I had this argument on my page. There was actually a young lady that's over here somewhere. I think, I can't remember where she's located. But anyway, she decided to look it up. She's a beautiful little nerd. And she's like, I'm going to go Google this. And it's not even actually a Canadian thing. For some reason, it just got named that.
Is it true that there's different?
We don't club baby seals either.
Ooh.
Ooh, whoa, wow! I didn't know
We're
that.
we're
was
gonna
a-
come back to
Yeah,
that.
we're going to come back to that one because that one was an interesting little
we-
thing that got thrown at me once.
Now, is it true that there's different chocolates and different flavored potato chips?
Oh, the potato chip flavors is not it's endless. It's endless what they try.
We had
Why? Do you not have that here?
isn't there like ketchup flavored potato chips and like weird shit?
Yeah. Ketchup, Dijon mustard, dill pickle, sour cream and onion. it just goes on. And now they're gonna let's just put a couple of those together and see if they mix.
And Canadian chocolate's different.
You know what? That I don't even know. I know that we have some incredible Canadian chocolate chains that don't exist anywhere else, and they make a good product. But I don't know if we do it differently.
Get me obscure Canadian foods or snacks.
Okay, the poutine is what we're known. Poutine.
Yeah, that was big in Montana.
Yeah.
You got to help me out
It's
with
a French thing, though.
the kilometer speed limit deal there. You got to help me out there.
Hey, luckily today at the race thing, that it was all in kilometers. I'm like, that makes sense to me.
Oh, God.
But poutine is the one that everybody really knows Canada for, and the maple syrup thing.
Well, I was from New England, so I understand maple syrup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drink it by the bottle and just watch yourself fly.
Seriously.
No, we don't do that.
So we had a girl from Australia in here, and she broke down the biggest difference. She said the glaring difference in food from the United States and Australia was the way we approach cereal in this country. She goes, you guys have an aisle of cereal that's like 8 miles long, and she's like, if you want, chocolate frosted dinosaurs, you can have chocolate frosted dinosaurs. If you want marshmallow ghosts, you can have marshmallow ghosts. You go to Australia and it's like oatmeal and like 3 brands of cereal.
Oh, no way. Yeah. No, we have the eclectic cereal as well. Actually, I think the biggest difference that I've noticed anytime I come to restaurants is portion size.
Bigger here?
Oh my gosh, everything's bigger this way.
Okay, Sharla. Okay, John, I got something.
All right, we're ready.
Shoot,
Okay.
Buckle up. Pull it up.
All right. So we
Ready.
got maple sugar pie. You know about that?
Personally, I don't like that.
Okay. Moose heart.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't eat it, but it's a thing. People also forget we are still hunters up in Canada.
Roasted
deer.
moose heart with stuffing, John. We got
never tried
cinnamon
it.
bun potato chips.
Yeah, that exists. I don't necessarily eat it, but I will acknowledge it exists.
Kraft macaroni with ketchup.
Yeah. Oh, I'm actually embarrassed that I've done that.
Oh, John, look, you just broke his heart. Look at him. He's faint.
Hey, but I'm not going to do that fake stuff. If I'm going to make mac and cheese, it's homemade.
With ketchup?
I never did it with ketchup. I grew up Polish and Italian. If I ate, it came out of my garden. If it was butchered, it was from down the road. Going to the grocery store was rare. So I was a weirdo growing up.
All right, I'm looking at something here. I got to pull it up so I can share it. Cretans? Cretans?
Croutons?
Cretons.
Croutons. It's on the top of your salads. It's the crunchy thing.
No.
Shut up.
No.
No, it doesn't.
No, this is a fatty
see,
spiced
now I'm
pork
learning
on
something.
toast.
Okay, keep going.
I'm going to pull it up. You got to
It's going to be rare. Pull it up.
I'm going to pull it up.
Oh, my goodness.
This is
Give me a
getting
minute.
This is getting exciting. Yeah, the potato chip thing I knew of in my short stint trips to Canada, but chocolate, I noticed like the difference in the chocolates and all that, and there's a lot of different influences in Canada, and that's what people don't understand. You have the Canadian influence, the true Canadian influence. Then you have the French, and you have there's another British. Right, there's something that's colonial.
That's
colonial
right.
rule.
That's more East Coasters.
East Coasters, yeah.
Oh, they're wonderful people though.
Colonial side. Oh, here we go.
All right, so here's the poutine.
That's not
No.
poutine. No, sorry. That's
Boiled
potato dumplings. That's not the Canadian poutine. Canadian
that's a different
poutine is the French fries, cheese
We'll
curds,
scroll
and
down,
gravy.
see what we got.
Let's keep going.
All right, so here's the Cretans.
I think you pulled up something
That's
that's
a
more
pop- it's a-
England.
no,
Is
it's Quebec breakfast.
That's yeah.
Quebec.
It's Quebec. That's
No, that's not
it's like
yours,
an
huh?
English muffin type of thing. That actually, again,
Yikes.
here's the other funny part about Canada. You guys have stereotypes about Canadians, and we also stereotype our French. There's a separation between us Anglophones and the Quebecers, and we love to
What
mock
about
each
this
other.
one?
I think you really found all the French stuff because I don't recognize that.
You
so.
don't recognize any of this.
Good Lord. But look, okay, the poutine, the true poutine is a French thing, but all Canadians run to this.
That looks good though, Q. Deep fried pig fat
In maple syrup.
and maple syrup.
Oh, go back to that? What is
Yeah.
that?
Oh, look at that. We show it. Okay.
Hey, I'm learning something new.
gonna get
Like
it.
I said, there's a big difference.
That looks like
between-
it's like a pork rind.
Yeah, it does.
It really does.
Well, I have a new
Dip it
friend
in maple
who's
syrup.
runs the Antler Bar in Toronto, who's a chef. So I'm gonna start asking him about some of this obscure stuff. But I
Now,
think you
here's this
found more
next
of the
one.
French. Okay, the mac and cheese and
Charlotte,
ketchup.
we're going to have to talk about this.
Yeah.
Well, a craft dinner. Okay, my
fuck me.
kids are so guilty of this.
Jesus.
My ex-husband put ketchup on everything. He grew up, ketchup went on everything because single mom growing up, everything was very bland.
That's the one I
Ketchup.
knew. The bull testicles.
Rocky Mountain oysters. Baby.
Yeah. Holy shit.
I know, it's kind of a freaking weird. I have not had those balls in my mouth. Not those ones.
Jesus Christ.
No. Anyways, let's just leave
Two.
it there. Again, I think you
Tootens.
found most of the French stuff, so even I'm not
I
familiar
went
with
to
a
the
lot
weird,
of these.
super
oh,
weird
honey,
list.
this is fun though. I'm going to start asking some people.
We
I have a
gotta
sister.
get these in here,
I have a
John.
sister who lives in Montreal,
know.
which is the French part of Canada. So I'm going to start asking her if she got started dipping into this nasty
We'll have to
stuff.
give you some money. You can send back a goodie bag.
We got to find these potato chips. That's
the Cinnabon ones. I know those exist. I haven't seen them myself.
London,
though.
I
Ontario.
threw up.
It's London on. Oh, actually, I know that brand. That's not far from where I live, where they make those.
Cow's Creamery chocolate covered chips. I know
Doesn't
that's
sound too
a
bad.
Canadian thing though. I know that came down from Canada
Yeah.
because they love something about chips. It's a thing.
Honest to gosh,
Moose
it's-
heart. Ugh.
Yeah, there's some things that I know that exist. I'm just not really brave enough to try that. The sugar pie is a huge thing, especially on Christmas. It's just too much for me. I don't care for it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's amazing
Very
to
interesting.
me.
this
Oh, that
the
is-
fries with the gravy and that's a true poutine. And it looks like a hot mess, and and you're feel horribly guilty eating it, but you go for it every time.
No, there's a
that's
place
like
in
I
Vegas
just finished
that serves,
clubbing,
like-
and it's just hitting it hard. It's
Oh, yeah.
3 a.m. and boom, street.
There's a place
treat.
in Vegas that serves pot roast French fries.
Ooh.
And it's yeah.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This sounds like Q and I are going. It's a date, baby.
take
This is
yours,
a date.
Is that all we got? That's it.
Yeah, but this is the.
That's
I'm a little
enough.
embarrassed that I didn't know half of that stuff. I'm like, oh, now I'm not Canadian.
But it was French, like you said. So that's what that was my disclaimer, is because people don't realize Canada is so secular. So there's a lot of different halves or thirds of Canada that have
Yeah.
the French influence, like you said, the Anglo influence, and there's East Coasters and there's West Coasters. Just like here, Q has a lot of a lot of bad teams he roots for, and that has a lot to do with where he's
no
from
comment.
and what's influenced him. I'm not going to hate on the Alabama, but
Roll Tide.
That is the fun one to have some stereotypes and mock it. But again, we don't necessarily know, but we think we know. Oh, that's so Alabama. I'm like, really? Have you been there?
if
You
you
guys
could,
finally got an NBA championship.
I know.
What the hell?
You know what? Wow, that was a celebration.
Is that the first time since the Toronto Blue Jays? I had a question.
Actually, the Blue Jays were doing well, and they're our only baseball team. The Raptors are.
Because back in the 90s with Joe Carter, they were cutting it up.
They had a really good streak. And yeah, and what happens anytime something like that goes on, people who've never watched the sport, all of a sudden everybody's on that bandwagon.
Well, there's hockey. Hockey's a true Canadian
We
sport.
have more Americans on our teams than Canadians.
No, they're more from Europe now. Everybody's like European.
Yeah, you know what? But honestly, I'm through and through a Canadian girl. Hockey is my sport.
A lot of them go to U.S. schools, but a lot of them are European now. I've noticed it's something like, if I don't know if you pull it up, Q, but there's a percentage now. It's like it's up in the 20s, I believe, now in Europeans.
You're probably right.
Playing
You're
hockey.
probably right. But
I
it's an
gotta-
amazing sport. I love it. There's so much action.
I got to go back here because I was.
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's
so that's crazy.
Those used to be my favorite, but I can't
I've
eat
never
them
seen
anymore.
That here in America. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh, many a university night trying to
Have you ever had
study with a buzz and eat some chips.
What about the sourdough cocktail with the toe in it?
Is that, I forgot where they do. That's an East Coaster thing.
How you like that, John?
It's nasty.
It's a real toe.
And then that's an East Coast tradition. I heard about that, but I have to go there and visit, and they kind of introduce you and make you a
Beaver
honorary
tails?
local. That's a French thing, and they're fantastic.
Yeah, I've had a couple of beaver tails in my day.
Beaver tail
Hello,
too.
I'm not talking about that. Who doesn't like a nice tasty beaver?
Beaver tail catcher.
There's the
There
poutine.
you
That's
go.
a better looking poutine.
Interesting. Very
But yeah,
interesting.
now with lactose intolerance and other things, half this stuff that I used to enjoy.
How could one country be so fucked up?
Oh, those things are nasty. That gum, it tastes like you might as well just be chewing on bits of soap. You ever have your
it
mother
tastes
wash
like
your mouth?
soap.
It's gross.
There's nothing thrilling about thrills.
It was no, and
The packaging says it tastes like soap. What
it
the
was
hell?
ridiculous, and people were obsessed with it. And I'm sorry, my mother was very, very Catholic, so when I'd curse, she'd wash my mouth out with soap. So when somebody offered me a piece of gum like that, I'm like, I would shudder. I thought I was in trouble, and it's nasty. Why would you do it on purpose?
Never. So we finally got you here in the building to visit, and I'm excited to have you. And you
Thank
got to see
you.
K-Var and meet some of the people. And I know Trace probably filled you in. It's great to have you. And
Thank you.
have you enjoyed the building so far? What you got to see, and you're gonna get to shoot some guns.
Yeah, you know what? I wasn't really sure what to expect, what kind of a setup you have here, because it's not my first time in the USA and meeting different people, but people do things differently. Everybody puts their personality in it, and you guys are very professional in here.
We try to do it right.
Are you
I'm
sure you're talking
loving
about
this.
us?
Yeah,
We're professional?
Okay, fine. I was trying to be nice.
yeah. we try to do it right, but it's great. No, it's really great to have you, and I know we're gonna get a chance to shoot some guns and hang out. But
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
yeah, and is it like you get to see kind of K-Var, the brand, and just kind of the website with the sales we do and how firearms are sold here in the country. Does that kind of give you hope that maybe like one day I'd be able to order ammo online?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, we have Canadians have their restrictions and stuff, and that's another reason why I enjoy coming here. Like the first time I got to just fire an AR, I'm like, oh, I know the function, I understand the gun, but I kept checking if it was out because I'm used to them cutting us off at 5. And it was like a 30-round mag, and I'm just, are you sure?
Yeah, there's more here.
And everybody's laughing at me. First time I got to do full auto, and again, I thought, oh, that's going to be intimidating. I'm like, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
I really like it. I want to do that again.
It's not that bad. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun here, and I think you're going to continue to have a lot of fun throughout the day. And I was super excited to have you in, and I know the team here was all pumped up to hit the range with you later on. So I think it's going to be fun, and I think you're going to enjoy your trip here. I think you're going to make a lot of lifelong friendships, and I think you're going to come back.
I'm really looking forward to learning more about this.
The brand.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And seeing what your guns are like, and thank you for trusting me to come in and join you for this.
Have you shot AKs before?
No.
Breaking news.
Oh, have I?
Oh, wow. Really?
You know what? I get so many different things put in my hands that sometimes I forget what people have got me shit. I think maybe
because you guys don't have them in Canada.
No.
That's what I'm getting
And
at. So you don't have
what-
access to them.
What they put on the prohibited list is utterly ridiculous. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Like
That's
those
on the
teeny
super,
little
super
half
special
22s.
restricted list.
Oh, that's prohibited because
They're-
you could hide that so easily. I'm
They're
like,
almost extinct here too. Q, bite your tongue.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but what they deem irresponsible, like I said, those tiny little prohibs, I love doing little guns because it's a novelty.
Right.
But realistically, why are they prohibited? They don't do that much damage. It's like a mosquito bite if I shot anybody for real with it. But it's because you can hide. I'm like, again, if a criminal's going to hide that, and he's not going to damage anybody with a little 22.
So there's some questions I have to get to.
Yes, please.
What's your favorite gun to shoot?
My CZ Shadow too. And if I start getting more time, that will be my competition gun, I think.
Very respectable choice.
Thank you.
Second favorite?
I really enjoyed, oh my gosh, when I went to range 702 was the first time I did full auto. What was the unicorn? What caliber was that?
5.56.
Yeah. But what kind of gun is it? Again,
It's an AR-15. Yeah, no,
it's
I
just
know you guys.
I can't remember what people put in my hands. So
And where you're restricted, it's just not something you're overly familiar with.
no. And again, when I gain experience on those things, it's usually when I come here.
Now, the zombie apocalypse happens tomorrow.
Oh, I'm down for that.
All right, you're in.
Me too.
Mark her down. Q, put her on the list. And there are aliens, but you're not sure about alien craft, and you're not sure if they visited here.
It's funny that I'm like, I don't believe in aliens, but yeah, I believe zombies are coming.
So before I get to where people can find you and how people can contact you, what's the weirdest DM you've ever gotten? Creepiest?
Can I smell your armpits?
That's weird.
And I have
I
people.
wasn't expecting that.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's so out of left field.
He just wanted to, he full on described it. I just want you to lay with your arm up, and I'm going to lay on your side and just inhale. And then he just want to camp out there. I'm like, ugh.
Wow.
Like actually, the dick pics are easier to handle than that.
Q, my
kind of
mind is blown.
I mean, first it was the pee, and now it's
Well, the jail mail, the pee, we've heard it all here. It gets better and better. Can I smell your armpits?
Smell
Yeah.
your
I'm going to
arms.
camp out and just.
Like, is
smell
that
your
with or without
armpits.
deodorant?
He didn't really specify that, but he made it very clear it was about my essence. I'm like,
So,
so I'm going to go
essence.
run track. Yeah, there you go. Okay, get up in there.
any requests for clothing?
What?
That's a common one. That one always seems to.
Yeah, it's usually the underwear one is typical, but I had a person who was very specific, gave me a link for the particular brand of white sports socks and wanted me to walk around video just my feet walking around in these particular socks and send them. I'm like, I should start monetizing this way. I should start selling things like that.
We've heard. Well, I have a story about a friend that did just that and donated the money to charity. But it's a complicated story. It involved a shirt worn in the gym and wiping his dog's ass with it. But I don't.
Oh, for God's sake!
I'm going to leave the story alone. But it's a story that's a private one. If somebody approaches me at a show, I'll gladly tell it. But
after a drink or two, yeah,
no,
I'll disclose anything.
I'll tell that story sober
for free.
I'll tell that story for free. But I've heard a lot of crazy ones. But Q and I have heard it all in this studio, and
I believe it.
And believe me, there's some interesting ones.
Dear God.
Yeah, the fact that he gave me a link for the specific brand, I'm like, really? You
I don't
thought about
envy. I definitely don't envy you, ladies, with the creepers that slide into the DM. So, with that being said, tell me how somebody effectively slides in the DM with a legitimate question.
Effectively?
Yeah.
Have a legitimate question.
Okay, and you're willing to answer. So the best ways to reach you and the best places to contact you as we pull up your Instagram.
Well, you know what? If you really have some questions, you can always contact me through Loving Brunette. If you have business questions, like for the X Metal Targets, you can contact me there or the X Metal Targets page. I'm in charge of both now. Through the website, even for X Metal Targets, I'm pretty good about answering that. And again, if it's a legitimate question, I will talk to you.
Okay, all right.
I'm not unfriendly. If you come off like a creep, I'll let you know.
Yeah. And you're public this week or
for this weekend, and you know what? I might leave it open
for again.
I'm going to see what's going to happen if that nastiness went away.
Yeah, no, and I think that's good, and I think it's good to go private every now and then. But no, we appreciate having you, and it's great to hear your story. And I can't thank you enough for coming in. And I don't want to keep you.
This was fun.
Yeah, no, we've been an hour. Believe it or not.
Have we really?
Yeah, we've gone an hour. Nobody ever believes that when we go an hour. Q, did I hit everything? I think we're good.
Yeah, I mean, aliens, conspiracy.
I'm going to look into the
Smelling
alien thing a
armpits.
bit more because you started making me kind of doubt myself.
We
so I'm going to go and look a little more.
Oh, wait. JFK. What you do?
Yeah,
you believe
JFK. One gunman or multiple? The JFK assassination. He was a president of ours.
I know who he is, but I don't think I sat there and thought about that. Because I know there's different theories, but I haven't analyzed it myself. I just thought it was a tragic situation.
We've given you some homework.
But Reagan is my favorite president out of everybody. I just had to put that in there.
Well.
This country welcomes you at open arms. Should we have a Reaganite? Beautiful.
Yes.
So super exciting, and it's been awesome having you in, and I look forward to seeing what you guys do in the coming months and at SHOT Show. So it'll be a lot of fun seeing you guys. Are there any other shows that you want to highlight that the team will be at or you'll be at, or any places, any appearances, anything coming up?
There's a few, but there's a Canadian one. It's called TACOM, and it's the first one was just last year.
Okay.
And again, like I said, we're just starting to get a little bit louder of the fact that we have a gun community in Canada because we think it's important to start being, this is normal. Let's normalize it. And so TACOM, I'll be at TACOM. And there's hopefully some other ones that are going on. I missed the last few.
And there's a few cool companies coming out of Canada, like Trigger Tech, and there's some other brands.
They are really great.
Yeah, there's some brands coming out of there. And it's going to be super exciting to see what you guys do. And I think you should make noise. I think social media is granting you that platform, and like you said, giving you the stage. So take advantage of it. But it's been super, super fun having you in. I don't want to hold it up too much. I know you have lunch plans, I believe. So
yeah,
and you're gonna have
always got a lunch plan.
Always got a lunch plan.
Oh my gosh, I can't eat like this anymore.
No, I'm telling you, it's like the world revolves around food in this country. So, well, being Italian, you should kind of understand that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was spoiled growing up. Everything was homemade Polish, homemade Italian. Nonna and babcia,
That's a dangerous combo.
It was a good combo, and the drinks on either side, vodka or vino.
Seriously.
Spiritus or
yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Grappa.
So awesome having you in. I loved getting to chat it up with you. I think we covered everything. And if you want to check you out, head over to Instagram's the best platform?
Instagram's the best platform right now. Everything else that I have on social media involves my family, and I keep that private.
Okay, perfect. So remember to like and subscribe. Remember to tune in. Remember to go to K-var.com. Head over to www.K-var.com. I know Q's going to pull it up. Make sure you check out the website for every deal that we have going on right now. We're blowing everything out. Right now we have the shotgun right now, right, Q? The shotgun's the big thing, I believe, or we're releasing the shotgun. There's going to be shotguns on sale. I don't remember.
That Vepper is going to be a beast.
So make sure you check check out some of that stuff. We always have sales going on, but head over to www.kvar.com and make sure you tune in on iTunes and tune in on everywhere podcasts are shown. I've had an awesome time, and it's been a pleasure having you. So
Thank you.
Q, kick us out.
You guys made me comfortable.
We out.